Yes, ma'am.
Could you comment just briefly a little bit about the Rural Hall Data Center and the environmental impacts? It's been a big controversy.
It has been, and it's going to remain a big controversy at least till I think it's July 20, but it's our second meeting in July, where the recommendation from the planning board will come to the commissioners for a final local vote. I'm working to be very cautious about how I say this, because I don't want any parties to the issue to have an excuse to argue that I should be disqualified from voting on the basis that my mind is already made up before the presentations are made and discussed at the meeting. So with that caveat in mind, let me just say that I do share concerns with the potential impacts of the hyperscale data centers that are what are being developed now. They are qualitatively different from the smaller data centers which are scattered around all over.
We've got them here already.
We do. I mean, there's one on West 4th Street.
Right.
South Street Parkway.
Yeah. What they're talking about in the new hyperscale centers are not the same thing, and their potential impacts on the adjacent community can be significant. In some cases, it's documented that the impacts are significant, and it is frankly very difficult when you're dealing with a situation like the proposed Rural Hall adjacent data center that is being proposed by developers who are not themselves going to build whatever gets put there if the rezoning is approved, they're pitching conditions on the data center that involve things like noise controls, and those are notoriously difficult to interpret and enforce as part of a zoning decision. Basically, it ends up being an argument. We're doing the best we can, and that's all we promised to do, versus it's not getting the job done. You're having adverse impacts. But my understanding about the typical actual case is that there is a substantial noise at the property line for those facilities. There's a question about quality of noise, not just the decibel level. If you've got a high vibrating line, and that's when things are running right. If this particular proposed data center would have, I just spoke with the planning department director this afternoon. His best recollection, he didn't have the papers in front of him, so his figure may be off, but his best recollection was that they are proposing 300 backup diesel generators for the site. So if the power goes down, and that's one of the key characteristics about these new data centers, they are designed to be operated 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all year long. They need an enormous amount of electric power to do that without interruption. And if the power goes down, they've got to have a backup plan, or they're going to burn through their equipment. And the backup plan in this case that's proposed are hundreds of diesel generators. Now, can you imagine living a half a mile or even a mile away from 300 roaring diesel generators? It would be like suddenly your house was moved into the middle of the truck stop
Right.
you know, parking area. Yes, ma'am.
One related question, are they proposing to generate a considerable amount of revenue? Or is that part of their marketing?
That is the key part of their marketing. They are proposing to build a facility that they claim will be valued at $3 billion and generate $40 to $50 million a year in terms of local property tax revenue. Who knows?